Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second week of the Smite Challenger Cup series. My name is F. Dot. I'm joined here by my co-caster, Kret. Today, we're going to be watching some intense North American action.
Yeah, we've got a lot of teams signed up. F. Dot, why don't you tell us how many teams showed up today?
Well, last week we had 420 players come out to try and prove their salt in our matchup. This week, we have a total of 69 teams playing for the seed points. Right now, as it stands, due to some issues with Team Return, Team Salt has 102 points. The Rambozos have 62 points, and Bloodbath and Beyond are sporting 42 points as far as seed points are concerned. Everyone else is 27 or lower.
Yeah, so we've got a round of 128 today. Due to the way tournaments function, we do have to add an extra round to accommodate the extra 5 teams. We're gonna be taking a look at that round first. I believe this is a 128 game. Either way, it's one step ahead versus Anarchy in our first round. I am very excited to get these teams going and get underway. We're not super familiar with these players. I have heard of Too Many Apples. It's a name that's stuck in my head. I don't know if I've played with him. I don't know where I heard it, but I know that sometimes you just have too many apples.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much why we went ahead and picked to stream these. So we sort of expect to see some of the more seasoned teams in the later rounds, so we can afford to stream them a little bit later. Early on, our goal is to really stream some of the unknown talent to see if we can find a diamond in the rough that can maybe transition to a different team, or maybe to see the future of Smite esports. So we're going to get underway in just a couple of minutes. Why don't we talk about some of the teams that did very well last week, Kret, like Team Salt?
Right, so Team Salt is it's a team that we managed to interview on Tuesday for our talk show, and I am actually getting word from our admins there's been an error in creating the lobby, so we will have to remake the game. Okay, so I'm gonna handle that. Why don't you tell us about Team Salt?
Sure. Team Salt is a team. They're pretty good. They performed excellent as they won #1 last week. They have some players that have been in and out of the scene, and one of my favorite things is this player Janin, who was the hunter last week. Essentially, Team Salt came with 4 members and a hunter that were looking for something, and it just didn't work out for the hunter. He was MIA at the time when things started off, so they had to get a substitute called Janin. He's a player that used to play in the past and haven't really played competitive in a number of months, and he agreed to play. He showed up, and he continued to stomp the tournament. So shouts to Janin.
Shoutouts to Janin. He's got a lot of similarities with the Boosh, first of all, because they're from the same group of friends, but second of all, because Boosh was just a player that played in in-houses. He played with good players, but he didn't play competitive. He didn't actually really enjoy playing ranked, just casuals, and then he made the jump, and now he is probably the best mid in A, or at least definitely in the conversation. Either way, guys, we're gonna go to a brief waiting screen. We'll be right back once we get the picks sorted out, so stay tuned. For F. I'm Kret, and this is the North American Challenger Cup. And banned for our first match. One Step Ahead versus Anarchy. In the blue trunks, One Step Ahead are gonna be banning out Loki as their first ban, and then they're going to be taking a look on the other side at Mercury. So 2 very strong melee characters.
Yeah, this is just the typical assassin bans that we're going to see, and there we do see the Circuit ban come out. These assassins are some of the more difficult to deal with characters for a lot of players, and essentially the first 4 bans are just characters that people traditionally don't want to deal with because they do too much damage.
Oh yeah, I mean that's obviously the most common reason, but every so often you see other picks that might get banned for different reasons, such as Ra, where it's too much healing and pretty good damage too. Habwa and Circuit, though, in this case, it's all about damage. Nobody wants to deal with these strong characters, and Freya first pick, it's really just a focus on sheer power, not control, not safety, just murder.
Yeah, I mean, Freya's one of the stronger characters in the jungle as far as just pure damage is concerned. Of course, she is coming out with that lovely Pixel Buster skin in the next patch, so look out for that. And on the other side for Anarchy, we're going to see two very top tier picks being chosen out by Team Anarchy, Giannis and Geb.
Yeah, Giannis and Geb are basically mandatory in the pro scene. Looking at my stats really quick, Giannis has 91% participation, which means that's his pick ban rate. He's either picked or banned 91% of the time. Looking at his win rate really quick, 57%. So there's definitely some reasoning for that popularity. Hercules, as probably a solo laner in this situation, though he's occasionally used in the jungle, can be very powerful if your driving strikes connect, and that's sort of a two-way thing. It's on you to put your driving strike in the right spot, and it's on them to respond to it in the wrong way so that you can actually get the pull.
All right, and the last two picks for these teams are going to be Ra and Chang'e, two healers with a little bit of sustain that can help out both of their teams. We're most likely going to see Chang'e in that solo lane role, with Giannis defaulting to the mid. And Ra, you talked about Hercules sometimes played in the solo, and Ra sometimes played in the solo. That said, sometimes you take him to mid. So we'll see. The ban process should be easier for One Step Ahead, because these characters are cut and dry. You got a mid, a solo, and a support. All you need is a jungle and a hunter. Anarchy, on the other hand, it's a little more ambiguous. Banning out that Athena could be trouble if One Step Ahead wants to play Hercules in the support role.
Hercules is honestly a pretty good support, but because of the nature of the current meta, there's a clear formula. When you hit the second bans, if you have Athena or Geb, and they don't, you ban the other one. You ban Athena or Geb just to take off the second tier support, because that's the role where there's a clear 1 and 2, and so it's obviously beneficial to have 1 and not let them have number 2. Apollo banned away. So One Step Ahead hasn't yet picked their hunter, unless that's where they plan to run Freya, and they don't want to deal with global presence, and they don't want to give Anarchy the first opportunity to pick the hunter and give them Apollo. Ullr is very interesting. He's hypothetically very strong. He has a lot of utility and a lot of moves, and he does a lot, but looking at the SPL win rate really quick, 16%, 2 wins.
Yeah.
So not performing.
Well, Ullr is a character that's very dependent on the individual player, in my opinion. He's got a different play style than most of the hunters, in the sense that he's more of a burst character than a basic attack character, despite being that hunter and having that steroid. And his ability to clear the wave changes drastically if you don't buy Transcendence, which a lot of players don't. So there's a lot of individual play involved with Ullr, as well as Rom. But Rom has seen a little bit more success. He transitions. He's easier to pick up for most of the hunters, as he follows pretty standard. Cret, that's not very standard.
That's not very standard at all, but it is. So, first of all, this is actually a team that I am a little bit more familiar with than I thought. It's from the Siege tournament. Rayberg, Radio Mist, Solo, and Too Many Apples used to play in Siege 4v4 competitively. They were one of the top contenders until people just sort of stopped showing up for the tournaments. And I believe that they know what they're doing in picking Arachne to some extent. I think they have a methodology. That methodology may not work, and I am not making the assumption about that, but I think this is a calculated pick. Or maybe they just want to give her one last hurrah.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I like watching some of the more unknown teams, because we get to see the unconventional picks. You know, a lot of the time, gods are good if you put the right player behind them. Arachne, in my opinion, is the exception to the rule. I just think she's objectively bad, but it has worked at some point. So maybe we'll actually see this work out for One Step Ahead. Anarchy is going to pick Bastet. Tell us a little bit about the Arachne-Bastet matchup when they meet in the jungle.
So, Bastet is really a character similar to Anher in that you have a very versatile kit, and when you're fighting someone 1v1, your goal is to just outplay them, to avoid their abilities, kite them, and do damage between your cooldowns, auto-attack when you get the opportunity, use your ultimate to either blow their abilities or lock them in. The famous cat block is the sort of thing where you can position to increase its chances of working, but you cannot force it to work. So that's definitely an interesting dynamic. I like Bastet. My question is, Team One Step Ahead here, might not actually be running Arachne in the jungle. They might be one step ahead of both their opponents and us and switch things up, as they do have Freya and Rom. Rom is probably going to be in the Hunter role, or in the Hunter position, the duo lane carry. Freya, I mean, we've seen solo lane Freya. She could be in the jungle, and Arachne solo with Herc support. It could be Arachne support. There are a lot of options here, and
That's very true.
I'm not going to expect anything of one step ahead until we see them go to their lanes.
I completely agree with that. Anarchy has been pretty set, cut and dry from the beginning. Giannis, Chang'e, Geb picked up in the first round of picks. Pretty obvious where you're going to go from there. The Ullr and Bastet just sort of round that out. Where one step ahead has remained ambiguous from the very start. Freya succeeds in the jungle, the Hunter role, and I guess I have to say that she's been succeeding in the solo lane thanks to Zelia and Sayo. But those are very matchup intense and have a lot of other external factors involving them. So either way, we're going to go into our game in just a couple of minutes and see exactly where these gods are going to wind up. Thanks for watching the Challenger Cup on Smite Game 2, and we'll be right back. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your first match of the day. My name is F. I'm joined here by my co-caster Kret, and we'll be watching One Step Ahead in blue take on Anarchy in the red.
On the red side, it's Anarchy. We're going to start with them because we know where they're going. Horizon XX on Ullr in the Hunter role. Shadow Wolf 3702 on your mid lane Janice. Noob Hunter with numbers instead of some of those letters on Geb in the support role. Funka on Bastet in the jungle. And Gruff Dog A in the solo lane is Chang'e.
Representing the blue side, the ambiguous side. Uh-oh, Awestruck's getting caught out right now. Going to get hit by the double tap from that Janus. Hit in from Hercules, trying to get something going. There's a lot of damage coming out, but that heavy hammer's slow, and Solo gets the kill on Horizon for first blood. That's going to be a double kill as he takes down Chang'e as well. And One Step Ahead is going to start this game one step ahead with 2 kills before the match even begins.
So there's 2 facets to the heavy hammer that make it picked up so often. First of all, it's pretty efficient stats. You get 18 damage and 200 health for 1100 gold, which is nice. Second of all, if you fight within the first 3 to 4 levels, it's probably the best item in the game. So Anarchy taking that fight, especially when they only had 4 members of their team there, you really have to press tab first. In the current meta, you have to know whether or not there's a heavy hammer.
Yeah, you really do, Kret. Looks like One Step Ahead wants to continue the push. In comes the kick, and the Freya pulses are coming out right now. It is 2v3, but Horizon's already very low, very slow. Some good body blocks are coming out, but here's Radio Mist from the front. Doesn't even need him. Solo confirms the kill. That's going to be his 3rd kill in a row, folks. Before the first minute. Midcamps did go, looking at the graph, midcamps did go the way of the blue team. So not only did they get the kill, they got the camps. They're going to move on to the blue buff, and the ambiguous team is going to be Freya and Hercules making up the duo lane.
Yeah, in the jungle, it's going to be an Arachne with a Rom in the solo lane. So Rom versus Chang'e is actually going to go very much in Rom's favor, because while Chang'e will try to harass you and then sustain up with her relatively small sustain, she really banks on the fact that she has either more harass or more sustain than her opponents. In Rom's case, with the auto text, he doesn't, and there's an invade coming out. Rayberg finds the first kill onto Bastet, not able to jump away when silenced. Gruffdog is going to take some damage, but will be able to get back under his tower, and the blue buff goes to One Step Ahead, who right now are living up to their name. They're playing a different meta than Anarchy is.
They really are. They're a little bit ahead of the curve, so to speak. One Step Ahead being a good name. Again, aggression onto this Geb. Good slows coming out from not just Hercules, but Freya as well. And that kick is going to seal the deal. One more hit onto Noob Hunter from Awestruck should be good. But Freya, that is her downside, folks. We always talk about the upside of Freya in the duo lane. Her just hiding there, getting farmed, and becoming a hyper carry. The downside is that she's only ranged part of the time. So she lets that kill slip through her fingers.
It's really just Freya's downside in general. That's how you have to play around her. She's only Freya 4-5 seconds is sort of our rhetoric that we give. When her pulse is up, she can kill you, and some better players can position to use Irradiate by itself and switch off to extend the uptime of the steroids. But without the steroids, you're just a mage with a melee auto attack, which is just not very good. In the jungle, Arachne moved over to the speed buff sitting at level 4. You've already got a pretty good snowball going for one step ahead, and honestly, if Arachne does anything, using her pull to increase the snowball is definitely the way to go.
Oh, without a doubt, you want to increase that snowball. Team's already at a large advantage, 2,200 gold in the way of the blue team. So, those first 4 kills in the first 1 minute, definitely going to be the obvious advantage for one step ahead. You know, we mentioned this solo lane matchup. Rom is a character that when he first came out was very enticing to take into the solo lane, but since has had a lot of the meta changes to his one ability. That said, level 6 over Chang'e level 4, doing very well. Awestruck gets a kill in the duo lane. Oh, too many apples up in the ult. He could finish off Chang'e here. One more shot. Can't make it, waits out the dance, so Gruff Dog are going to be able to get away no problem, but too many apples controlling this lane very well.
I mean, honestly, sending your opponent back to base. Hold on a second. Gank in the middle lane. Rayberg is engaging onto Shadow Wolf, and he's not close enough to the wall. Will get driving struck away, and that could save him, but not able to get the portal off quite in time. Will drop some people through it, but only after he's died, and the damage from a portal at this point is pretty close to insignificant. As I was saying, in the solo lane, too many apples pushes his opponent back as Freya gets a kill with her ultimate on the left-hand side, and it's going to give him a lot of tower pressure, a lot of extra farm, and because he's an ADC, he's going to be able to drop the tower to a quarter at the 4-minute mark.
Freya and Hercules, folks. This Freya, well, actually, let me reiterate. Awestruck and solo, folks. I think it's much more about the players and the characters.
Pluck in the jungle coming out from Arachne. 2 spider lanes engaging onto Bastet. Yanisald is going to come through, and the cats come down. Rayberg being chased out of the jungle here, but with a speed buff, looks like he's going to be able to run to a place of geometry and then line of sight the cats. But as you were saying, Hercules in the support role is essentially a snowball god. That's what you want to do, is you want to win lane so hard that you win the game. Another invade coming out.
Arachne trying to pick up that speed buff. Good hit from Hercules. Is going to take out the cat before he can take out the spider. And waiting in the heal from Raz. He rotates in middle lane is Rob. He's going to be able to be good. Chang'e ultimate just barely misses. 4 members of one step ahead on a single character. He's going to go down. Level 4 Geb is just in trouble. Going to hang out underneath the tower. And one step ahead, clearly running this match. It's 10-0 at the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, and one of the biggest problems when you're so far ahead and trying to get further ahead is if your opponents just sit under tower and stay in position, there's not much you can do except for force objectives and hope they come fight you, much like One Step Ahead is doing with his Gold Fury Geb on his way. But it looks like One Step Ahead didn't really agree on doing that. Now, with the team comp of Arachne and Hercules, because they're literally able to pull people out of position, they can continue to get kills even when their opponents are hiding in what are usually safe places, but they're really not safe in this circumstance.
Your middle tower is under
Bastet trying to make something happen. Bastet only has 3,100 gold to her name. Taking a look across the map at her enemy jungler, 3,800 on Arachne, so down by about 700 gold. That's really not... We've seen larger splits before in the jungle role, so if anything, she's treading water well against this uphill battle. 5,000 gold in lead already is one step ahead. It's 3-on-1, though. Hercules trying to make something happen. Gets the flip, but with his stun already down. Shadow Wolf very low thanks to Ra, and a boulder and an ultimate is going to miss. And Shadow Wolf 3702 is going to get out no problem.
That was really good pathing from Shadow Wolf. Both members of One Step Ahead read the same, and they both read wrong. So really unfortunate there. 2 ultimates down. Anarchy finds a small win, but it might not be enough to even get any advantage off of it. As Solo, even though he was at half health and just enough mana for one ability, still able to secure the mid camps on the left hand side. Chang'e's tower has fallen already. She's rotating to get the right camps, but just a 1-for-1 trade. Obviously, One Step Ahead would like to get both. Everyone would like to get both mid camps every time they're up, but getting one is absolutely fine. Anarchy needs to find opportunities to get more farm than her opponents and start making a little recovery.
Taking a look at this long lane that was so dominant for One Step Ahead. Awestruck sitting level 9 with 4,300 gold under her belt. Horizon XX 3,500 gold, so about 900 gold down. That's a huge deficit. But as far as experience is concerned, Crit, only one level down. Rob picks up a kill in the jungle, so that's going to be another one on the spider. But taking a look as Horizon actually gets pressured very hard by Freya. At one point, this matchup was level 1 to level 4. So Horizon has gotten the experience up, just haven't been able to really leave his tower.
Yeah, and he probably won't be able to leave his tower for some time, which is going to be a big problem when your opponents are doing the Gold Fury. Notice it was also a 5-man rotation from One Step Ahead. They're not taking their opponents lightly. They are grouping up as they feel is necessary. They're going to find Noob Hunter, and it looks like his keen senses didn't help him out this time. In the middle lane, Radio Mist is zoning out Shadow Wolf up 3 levels, and this is a situation where Shadow Wolf cannot possibly hope to 1v1, as Radio Mist is actually going to be going into some sort of health item, probably a Warlock Sash, but I'm not going to call it just yet. And One Step Ahead, now they transition. Now they look for towers and more map pressure.
Right, map pressure is exactly what they're going for. One Step Ahead took out the entire left-hand jungle, blue buff, damage cam, and the bag harpy, so there's nothing to be had over there. Chang'e, on the other hand, for Anarchy, had a good split push position, started to get some damage on that tower, but was scared away by the threat of Ram. Over here in the left-hand jungle, again, Noob Hunter getting caught out. Banish on Noob Hunter, and a pull on Falca. Getting in a lot of trouble right here. Radio Mist takes out the cat, and a good ultimate from Jonas is gonna not save Noob Hunter. He goes down to the Valkyrie's discretion, while on the other side, Radio Mist makes Jonas pay for using that ultimate. 3 down for the red team, 0 down for One Step Ahead. 9 minutes in, folks, 8,300 gold going the way of the blue team, 15-0 with kills.
Yeah, I like what Anarchy's trying to do in these fights, and it just feels like at this point they're a little bit too far behind. What happened to Shadow Wolf was he attempted to use his portal to juke the abilities from One Step Ahead and then walk away. But unfortunately, Radio Mist wasn't fooled and was just able to read the juke and respond to Yanis's portal on himself by just using it as setup for the snipe, getting the kill rather quickly after that. Speed buff is up. Funka able to actually secure that. Too Many Apples is going to try and contest 1v2 in the jungle, but not going to take the fight. Now positioning for the blue, his team is rotating over. Arachne cleaning up red on the back side, but this blue buff is going to be very difficult for Anarchy to secure.
Anarchy kind of zoned out. Blue buff does get reset by a just straight on push from Gruff Dog. A blink from the Arachne. Pull is good, and this Chang'e is stuck. Good dance, but that's a roll, and Radio Mist is going to secure that with the Celestial Beam. Cat's going to jump away, but Ram's in the air. One shot, taking her down, and that's Funka going down for the 5th time this game. No kills on the side of Anarchy just yet. One Step Ahead, bringing their number up to 17. Pushing on a Fire Giant. The second it spawns, Cret, we might see a 10-minute Fire Giant.
Honestly, this is the team composition to do it. You've got 2 auto attackers here. One of them has the Arachne steroid, which, let me remind you, basically DM Brandon showed us how broken that is. A quick escape coming out from Yanis, but Noob Hunter's not going to be so lucky. You've got a Hercules that can tank the Fire Giant, a Ra to sustain everybody. This is the perfect 10-minute Fire Giant composition. This is maybe the perfect snowball composition. They've got a late game hyper carry. They've got people who can pull you out of towers. They've got sustain to siege. They've got a very strong ADC who can snipe opponents that are running away. I actually am struggling to think of anything that they don't have for the specific situation that they are in, trying to snowball game and win quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the only, like, one of the only things you could say here is that they don't have a Guardian, so, but you really, it doesn't matter. Their front line is intact with Hercules just being Hercules, trying to put pressure on middle lane at the moment, and Ra building this Warlock stash. Not only is he personally tanky and providing that heal, so he's going to be sort of a quasi front laner. You know, Ra isn't what I would consider a tank, but it's good enough, especially when you have a level lead. Looking at experience, 16,000 experience lead.
That's a lot for the 11-minute mark. That's a lot of levels, and Funky going to be caught out in the jungle. That's going to be a pretty good stone shield to give him some room. Jump back to try and juke, but remember, there's still an Arachne. Snipe comes through, not quite going to connect, very close, but that's not good enough. And now Rayberg, Boulder comes through, will hit Funky down to less than 100 health. Banish sets up the assured kill. Geb's going to blink past, but he only gets the stun onto Radio Mist. Now Rayberg doing damage to Horizon, who gets absolutely destroyed by a Celestial Beam. Rayberg is very low, but the tower is even lower and will fall. Geb pulled back into the team. Great play there on the head to ensure the silence. Chunga rotating over, but being chased by too many apples. Not quite fast enough to catch up just yet, but will stop the rotation, and now it's time to take the inner tower.
This tier 2 tower is about to go down. You got 4 members over here for the blue side, one step ahead, sieging on this tower. One person is coming to defend this. It's not Chunga. Chunga's still in the middle trying to stop too many apples from split pushing, and Funka, the cat, is actually going to assist middle lane. Tier 2 is already down, and one step ahead is going to go ahead and retreat. They don't want to get too greedy despite the fact that they are absorbently ahead, and they're just going to wait for the Gold Fury to spawn to push themselves even further in the lead.
And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt here because they were at the Gold Fury about 10 seconds before it spawned. So let's just go ahead and assume that they had that timer written down. Good habit to keep for your team in competitive play, in ranked games, etc. Rayberg's going to jump the wall. He finds Funka, but will not get enough damage to kill. The cats are out, but Radio Mist secures it. Chunga gets a really good waxing moon, but it might not be good enough. The snipe comes through, but Gruffdogga is not going to get hit by it. Rom's ult, first one hit, second one doesn't. It's all on the third one, but Radio Mist finds the kill with the heal, and that's really not what that ability is supposed to do. It's supposed to be for help, but Horizon's getting under speed as the boulder comes through. Not gonna connect. No strike today. Geb recalling under mid tower, and now one step ahead are gonna look for some more objectives.
Yeah, one step ahead is going to opt for the mid tower, not the Phoenix. It's looking to be the easier fight. One thing I do want to say, if Radio Mist did not get that kill with the heal, Too Many Apples' third shot from the ult was going to secure that kill. It was in the air, on target, and the kill got taken by that heal. So good play, great play coming out from one step ahead's Hunter. Too Many Apples. I say Hunter, but he did play in the solo lane. So a little bit of confusion and craziness involving their team comp, but as we can see by the 14-ish minute mark, folks, 24 kills going the way of one step ahead with 0 deaths. So clearly something's working.
Yeah, they've got a really good lead rolling here. We're sitting at 15k gold, 22k experience, 2 towers and 3 phoenixes remain standing. Now the problem is they're not actually that high level in terms of the game itself. They're not level 20. They're high level relative to the time, but when you're level 17, 15, 14, phoenixes are still very, very difficult to take down. So one step ahead are still looking to speed up their experience. They're going to be looking for an opportunity to take the Fire Giant, which is definitely going to be a hard fight for them. And if they want to end the game sooner rather than later, they actually have a difficult path set ahead for them. But if they want to win the game, period, it's looking pretty good overall.
I would say that is one of the biggest understatements we've heard in our Challenger Cup thus far. Single Chunga guarding this right-hand lane. Solo and Too Many Apples are going to try and push it down. Spider gets a kill on the other side of the map. That's going to leave 2 members in blue on the left-hand side, 2 members in blue on the right-hand side, and a single Ra in the middle lane. There's 2 people playing defense in the right, 2 people going to come over here on the left. Cat jumps in, tries to make something happen, but she is 7 levels beneath Awestruck's Freya, so not much to go on there, and this mid tower is going to undoubtedly go down. Just good zoning coming out from Arachne right here, which is not something you hear often, Brett.
You know, one of the curious habits that Freya players have is they'll activate their Irradiate to hit towers. It doesn't do anything. You just kind of shout when hitting them, but I guess that feels better. On the right-hand side, Too Many Apples is going to find a kill with his ultimate. Third hit will connect, but Funka is about 300 health left. Gruffdogga is going to be trying to get away as a kill goes down in the middle lane, and all 3 Phoenixes are being aggressed on, with Horizons in the most trouble now. He's going to get taken down by Radio Mist. Big Celestial Beam connecting. Funka coming back in, but already taken down a little bit of his health. He's gonna have to be very careful. On the right hand side, first Phoenix of the game seems to be about to go down.
Still up. Good zoning from Gruffdogga, but inevitable is that death, so that goes down. Level 17 to level 9 is this Cat versus Rom matchup right now, so The Cats are going to come out, and he's going to immediately annihilate them, while quietly Arachne and Ra take down the left Phoenix as well. It's going to be 2 Phoenixes at 16 minutes, folks. Aggressing onto in the inside of the base. 2 members very low. That passive ticking down on Shadow Wolf makes it to the base, so no problem there. And now blue team looking at the middle Phoenix for their 3rd and final Phoenix.
That is 3 Phoenixes down at 16 minutes and 35 seconds. And a big part of what allowed One Step Ahead to do that is the 2 pull characters created so much terror in the lanes across that 3-man split that no one in Anarchy could push out of the base without expecting to die, and therefore no one on Anarchy could kill the creep waves. So all of the players One Step Ahead pushing 3 Phoenixes simultaneously had creep waves helping them. Too Many Apples is going to pick up a nice snipe kill, hits the ground, and just going to walk away. Taking a look at the builds really quick, Hercules has Sob and Stone of Gaia. There's a Fatalis on Arachne with a heavy Fatalis, not even heavy, Frostbound Hammer. So there is basically no way out of this Arachne's grip if you don't jump.
Pretty much. And speaking of Arachne, gets the kill with the pull. One Step Ahead is looking like they're going to make their way to the Fire Giant. This should be a very final nail in the coffin for Anarchy. 30 kills for One Step Ahead as they try to bring down the Giant Fireman. Falls down 1740. We're going to see a back from Ram. Has no more mana. Might as well pick up some items. 3 members of blue progress into the right side of the map, while Freya pushes down middle all by herself.
And it's actually going to be 1 item. An entire Rage picked up in 1 purchase. If you're going to recall when you have Fire Giant, that's the reason. But in the middle lane, it's going to be a quick kill onto Shadow Wolf, and now Horizon's in a lot of trouble. Solo does try to find the slow with the heavy hammer, but doesn't have the follow-up needed to get that kill. Cooldowns in progress, but the team is grouping up. They're probably going to wait for Too Many Apples before they really try to focus on the Titan. They're just looking for a pick here. Horizon is isolated, banish onto Funke, and the snipe comes through, but will it one-shot? No, it's very low. Ostrog finds a kill on a Gruff Dog. Nice pull out of the fountain from Rayberg, and that's going to be a destroyed Geb. Now it's just Uller left up. He's in a lot of trouble, gets back in the fountain, jumps vertically. Nice avoidance, and Rayberg will fall. First kill of the game is secured, so at least he got something, but in 18 minutes and 38 seconds, One Step Ahead with a dominant performance will take the game and move on to the round of 64.
Round of 64, that's a big one. We had a 128 team bracket with our 69 contestants today, so a lot of teams showing up. First round's going to go in spectacular favor to One Step Ahead. It really came out to play today. You know, Anarchy, it's interesting. Anarchy drafted the more traditional comp, but just had a harder time in this matchup. Very good to see them come out, though. I'm excited to see some of these newer names. Hopefully this is not a discouragement and they show up next week, because this is what it's all about, folks. It's all about seeing what exactly a good team is like. You might go ahead and grab your 5 friends, jump into the pre-made queue, and try it out. But until you play against teams that have been doing this for a while, you're not really going to understand the differences between ranked and competitive. So being able to see some of these things, hopefully they go home, watch the VOD, watch the replay, and learn some of the mistakes they did, and come back next week stronger.
Now in the next round, we have 2 very scary matches going on. The first match is going to be a repeat of One Step Ahead. They're moving on to face Team Salt.
Oh.
So that's going to be a big game. And that's the kind of game that I'm going to go back and watch the VOD if it's close. And if it's not close, then I'll probably just, look at the post-game stats to see what happened. I feel like it's going to be one-sided, and I don't know which way it's going to go. We're going to be taking a look at My Revenge NA versus Torch, 2 last season challenger level teams, both of them. Both played in the Iron Gaming tournament series, and Torch is reformed with some different names. LuckQ on that roster, who has been around in and out of competitive Smite for a very long time, formerly played with Eclipsium of Snapchat Gaming. My Revenge still has Gitsticker and Explicit, both very, very strong players. Yeah, so that's the match we'll be checking out next. I'm excited to see what's going to happen, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.